This field is in motion and approaching the start. And they're off. And it's a battle into the first turn for control. The battle continues by the half and approaching the far turn. Stride for stride past the three-quarter pole and approaching the top of the stretch. And as they hit the top of the stretch, it's mission brief. Foiled again, Muscle Hill, Captain Treacherous, and Vegas Vacation. Lucky Jim, a rock and roll dance. Be a magician. Sebastian K approaches the line. Guccio is coming late, and as they hit the wire, it's too close to call.
Now here's North American Harness update on SRN1.
Recently had to evict the man living inside my mirror. He just wasn't paying his share of the rent, but he was taking up way too much space, particularly in the mirror. Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages to make them children. Although maybe there's some 40-year-old children out there watching this show, or maybe some other. Welcome to North American Harness Update, the show that each and every week on the internet place of Facebook.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, other .coms. There might be some .orgs in there too, a couple .nets, some .infos, .me's. There are so many different forms of websites nowadays that could carry the NAHU experience on the live airwaves. Here I am, Mr. Ray Catolo, in my current stage and form. This, however, is not my final form. Many people have been warned to not be around me when I reach my final form, because that is what the Old Testament refers to as the end times. Mike Prebosi and Rod Allums Jr., though, joined me each and every week that I am here. Last week, I don't think I was here. I was not here last week. But, you know, guys, time just kind of meshes together into this giant blob of time that is hard to conceive sometimes, but I'm glad that we're back. We have some racing to talk about, including rolling right into this late pick 4 at London, which kicks off in, I believe, 10 minutes. It's the $5,000 guaranteed NAHU pick 4 each and every Friday over at the Raceway Western Fair District. London, in their last 4 races, offers the NAHU pick 4, named for yours truly, or us truly, I should say, as we provide coverage of the sequence live each week here on the show. It starts with race 7 tonight. Sometimes it starts with race 8, but since they didn't have enough races, it starts with race 7. Race 7 of this sequence over at London is a claiming event, $15,000 for a purse of $6,200, claiming conditioned pace. We got 8 horses going postward. Let's start it off with our resident London expert, Mr. Rod Allums Jr., who, from what I hear, has won 18 races so far tonight, and they've only had 6.
Close, but no.
Close.
I'm 3 deep here in the front leg, starting with the 4 statement. No Jay Harris tonight, so somebody else is driving. I didn't catch who it was.
It's Travis Henry.
Travis Henry driving. Okay, I don't mind that. But this horse loves the front end. Has lost a little bit of form recently, but last week in a 2-hole was all revved up. Looked like possibly choked there. If he gets to the lead tonight, I think you got a big shot with him at a decent price. The 7 Blue Moose is the obvious horse here. Won 5 straight before getting beat last time, coming from way off the pace. The post is the only issue here, likely short price. And then the 8 Rasmus. This is Danielle Neal and Mark St. Louis. Comes in off a very good win last time and broke the week prior. But, this horse has shown some decent ability down in Ohio. Finally got back on track last week with a decent trip and actually moved out of a blind switch to win that race and won pretty handily. So I'm going to throw him back on again tonight. 4, 7, 8 for me.
Mike Prebozy, our Mohawk expert, I believe you do not throw on Rasmus onto the ticket. However, you do use the other two.
Yeah, I agree with Rod on both of these. I would rather have Harris, but the replacement's fine. This horse, should get a decent trip. The 2 scratched in the race too. That would have been my other horse. So this horse should get a fairly decent trip there from the inside. And then the 7 is extremely obvious off those wide trips and wins. It's tough to win, going wide at London, off that final turn. This horse is sharp and he draws in a little further with the scratch. I expect him to be tough. 4-7.
I'm more in sync with Rod, using the exact same 3 numbers he does. Statement for me is one who could possibly take this field wire to wire if the 7 Blue Moose does not show speed, which he may or may not from that outside post. He has the option since post 7 gives him that chance to accelerate off the gate. Or he could do his typical tactic of just drafting behind horses and swooping by legs. That's been working very well for him. I do use Rasmus, though, because he has that second-tier starting spot. He might be able to get away a bit closer to the pace because of the inside 2, even though the inside 2 don't show much speed. But by virtue of the post, he might be able to sneak in there, and he raises up close to the pace. He won last out against similar competition. He was 12-1 doing so, but off that win, looks a little bit better than some of the horses in this field, so I'll take my chance. 4-7-8 for me in leg 1. Leg 2 follows leg 1, as it really should in most mathematical courses. This is a $15,000 claim or another one, but this is for fillies and mares for a purse of $5,000. 8 more going postward. Rod, 2 for you.
Yeah, I'm too deep here. This is the leg I'm shortest in. Starting with the 3, Lovey Park. Very good form right now. Gets a better draw tonight. You see the last 3 starts, 6, 8, and 6. Just hasn't been having any luck with the draw, but tonight gets a much better spot. I think you're going to see her leave and probably cut the mile out or sit in the 2-hole. Either one I'm fine with, and I expect this one to be there late. And then the 8, Linnea, second start off the long layoff there for the stable. Colin Kelly jumps on to drive tonight. Gets a good draw here. Should get away a little bit closer than what we saw last week and got to tighten her mile in, so I expect vast improvement here. Second start back off the layoff. 3-8 for me.
Michael J. Prebozy, if that is your real name, you are 3 deep in the second leg.
3 deep. I don't like the 8 much. If you remember that horse, she broke her maiden first time at Woodbine and came flying at a huge price and really hasn't been the same since. She's just a little thing. So I'm not sure I guess I'll let that one beat me. But I think the 1's interesting, moving inside and being offered for a tag the first time. This horse, should be a little bit of a price. Kelly goes away, but that's all right. Brett McDonald is fine. Inside post, I would expect a better trip. The 3 I agree with. The last two races, gotten checks from outside post, moves inside, definite use. And then the 4, St. Lad's Billie Jean, who won last time on the front from the 2-hole, in other words, a 10,000 life. So this horse is sharp enough. I mean, coming off a win, I'll include again with a slightly, inside type post. Probably could get out. Maybe got a little confidence from that last win and gets out front again. Could do it again. 1, 3, 4.
I had a hard time finding race, so right off the bat, you understand the conundrum I faced. I managed to find 2 things that look like horses to throw onto this ticket, the 2 way over being the first. This one last out tried to pull first over, but ended up giving away in the stretch. But 2 starts ago, as the favorite against this group, pulled first over, put in a similar effort where she just kind of faded out of the mix late. So far, it just seems that if she doesn't go first over, she should race very well. Maybe from that inside spot, she could secure a much safer trip. Safe is probably not the best word, but a much easier trip than she's gone in her last couple of starts, because those trips otherwise have not really been working out too well for her. Lovey Park has a better draw than she did last week. She gunned from post 6 and could not take them all the way, finishing second against this group. Now has post 3, so maybe that extra ground saved on the gate could be enough to make her get to the wire in front. I don't know. I don't like most of the horses in this race. These are the only 2 I could salvage in this second leg of the pick four. 2-3 for me brings us to the third leg, race number 9, preferred 3 trot, field of 8 going postward. Mikey Mike hits the all button.
Yeah, and I think it's warranted. I mean, there's a lot of angles in the race, and there's horses you can't trust. You know, the horse like the 2, has braking issues. Was on the front last time from the 7, was a favorite and faded. Lost to the 3 horse in that race. The 4, Cena Magician, is another one that, rallies and was in a tough spot last time, just couldn't reach. Lost to a front end horse that just continued to go. The 5 just popped for 8,500 at, 1 to 2. There's a lot of different angles. I wasn't going to take 6 out of 8. I'll just punch them all, and hopefully we'll get a little chaos in that leg.
Rod, you used almost all of them, except you didn't use them.
I'm pretty close. I didn't use the 7 or the 8 here. The 7 with Britt Kennedy, I think, is just going to go around the track tonight. No reason for me to throw that one on the ticket. And then the 8, Scotty Spirit, I didn't use. In good form, but got claimed last week. Big step up in class. I'm not a big fan there. So any of the other 6 horses, I think, have a legit chance to win this race. And so that's why I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Thanks, Jim. I used 4 horses in this third leg. One of them happens to be the 4 horse, Cena Magician, who in his last 2 starts at this level finished second. 2 starts back, did so going first over against this group, finishing second at odds of 7 to 1, and then in his last start, rode the pocket and finished second as the favorite, but drew closer towards the leader in those final strides. He almost got there, but the wire came first. This time around, if he's able to get a better trip or maybe get moving just a little bit earlier, I could see him flying all the way to Magicville. Sicario gets a good draw here, too. He had post 7 last out, and he gunned off the gate, almost went all the way until he didn't in the stretch. He finished first by 3 lengths. Is the even money favorite. So now he has the inside. He has that speed. That's just a good combo in my book. All out Henry is going to be a challenger. He won this class 2 starts back. He also gets a better draw. And Jolona makes her second start off the claim. First start off the claim, she won by 5. That's my third leg. The final leg, then I use the 147, which makes my ticket go as follows for 20 cents. I'm 478. With 2-3, with 2-3, 4-5, with 1-4-7, 14.40 for 20 cents. Mike, your ticket.
4-7 with 1-3-4 with all with 3-4-7-9. It's 38.40. I played.
Rod, your numbers.
4-7-8 with 3-8 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 1, 4, 5, and 6. It's 28.80 for 20 cents. It's in.
Thanks, Evelyn. We got 2 minutes to go until this pick 4 starts at the Raceway at Western Fair District, London, Ontario, Canada. 9-5 favorite right now. Now 2-1 favorite. The 1, Deadly Action. I was just figuring that horse would change odds again, so I could keep saying what kind of favorite he was. 2-1 though. Now 2-1 still on Deadly Action. Second choice at 5-2. The 8, Rasmus. Third choice also at 5-2. The 7, Blue Moose. I'm surprised the 1's taking so much money. And he's back down to 9-5. I didn't think that this horse was that big a contender. Coming in off a 6 scratch, he has some back class, but other than that, he seems like he's from Nowheresville.
Yeah, and Scott Coulter's not even driving. This horse has been off 3 weeks. I'm not a big fan, especially for a horse that was 3 for 39 last year, 3 for the last 40 at least.
The horse was 138 to 1 last time.
Yeah.
And now you're getting even money.
So he's the one to beat in here. Second choice at 5-2, the 7.
No, that money's going to come off, I'm thinking, right about now.
What are they going to do, cancel the ticket?
Yeah, and bet it on the 7.
Well, they better do it fast because the field for the 7th from London, first leg of the pick, line in behind, approaching the start, And now they're off and pacing. A statement sends for the lead. Deadly Action pushes for position towards the inside, and Black Vinny floats away two to the first turn. From the second tier, Rasmus then gets away fourth out of Ryan Klein, ducking back fifth. I Love What I Do then gets away sixth out of Blue Moose, who caps out this field to the opening quarter, led by Statement. Statement a length and a half better than Deadly Action in the pocket. Out and moving comes St. Louis and Rasmus towards the top, while Black Vinny stalks from fourth, now 3 lengths off the lead. Ryan Klein remains fifth as they move on to the opening quarter. I Love What I Do still sixth. Then Blue Moose trails this field as they pass the opening panel in 29 and 1. Bet down to the 8-5 favorite. It's Rasmus dictating the terms around to turn number 2. Black Vinny from fourth is pulled first over. Matches strides with Deadly Action from third, moving to the half mile. Ryan Klein shown the whip behind the top 4, trying to keep up about 4.5 lengths off the lead. Then Shepard has Blue Moose in motion from the back, catching cover from Black Vinny, but they have to catch Rasmus. Heading past the half, 1 minute flat, 30 and 4 for that second quarter, circling onto circuit 2. Rasmus in front by 2. In the pocket, Statement gives chase, while Deadly Action now has room to tip out. Black Vinny retreats from in between horses. Blue Moose circles 3 high and moves up to be fourth with 5 lengths to make up, while Ryan Klein needs room to the inside. I Love What I Do. Now the penultimate as they go on to 3 quarters. Rasmus in front by a length and 3 quarters from Statement, drafting from second. Blue Moose trying to gain ground to the outside of Deadly Action, also recouping towards the rail. 129 and 2 for 3 quarters, a 29 and 2. Third panel, it's Rasmus rolling into the stretch here, 2 in front of Statement. Blue Moose wide then of Deadly Action, cutting the corner. Rasmus with the advantage. Statement angles out but has to gain 2, but the line is coming too soon. Rasmus in front by 2 in the end. Statement second. Ryan Klein up in a photo for third between Blue Moose and Deadly Action. All right, Ron and I move on in the pick 4 as Rasmus.
Well, that race was over pretty early.
It was over incredibly early. As
you make that kind of move at that place, you got
Rasmus quarter pulls and holds on the rest of the way, practically unchallenged. Statement chased for second. Deadly Action took third. Looks like Blue Moose held off Ryan Klein for fourth. So that is 8-4-1-7. Yep. Top 4. 158 and 4 the mile time in the 7th at London. How many minutes post do we have until the first leg of the pick 4 at the Meadowlands then?
About an hour.
Oh, you're right. That's fantastic. So now's a great time to talk about something I'm really passionate about, closet furniture. Do you ever have a hard time? All right. It was going to be great, though. I was going to talk about fiberwood and plyplex and all the other kinds of materials you can use to make the best wardrobe for your buck. We'll save that for another time. Excuse me. 8-5 shot starts off that pick 4. Do we really think that that's going to be 8-5 in the pick 4 sequence, or should that pay a little bit better?
I don't think so. I'm thinking you're probably getting closer to 5-2 in the pick 4.
Whatever.
Mike doesn't care because he lost. Loser.
Yeah.
All right, so the next 20 minutes of the show, we're going to make Mike...
I don't know why you would take Shepard on anything anyway. I mean, I should know better than that with the drive that's 7, but even though that this 8 was never losing, I mean, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, the Blue Moose had to leave. That was the one. That was the only.
We needed to be in front of the 20-1 first overshot that was going nowhere, maybe, to have a chance. I mean,
well, the horse also doesn't really, from what I remember, doesn't have much gate speed.
No, he doesn't. I mean, it's just. It is.
4 favorites there. 20-cent super paid $38.
Woo-hoo! You can put 6 grandchildren through you.
That's
with
very
that
good
money.
for that combo.
That actually probably is.
Oh, really? I was just being...
Lou, I knew I was in trouble, too, and Lou was saying, he was on Twitter saying that this trainer has won about, a ton in a row lately, too.
Yeah, everything they're putting on the track is winning, so...
Everything he touches turns.
Yeah, the trainer's batting .533. So.
And the only other player to ever bat .533 was named Jesus Christ, Superstar. Meadowlands also has a pick 4 coming up. We could dive straight into that one as I stare into this piece of abstract art. It has like this red circle for a sun, and it has like a little eyeball with an eyebrow. You don't know where the other eye is. And there's this weird, like, kind of mildly overweight man doing some sort of tango pose, but like, or not, it wouldn't be a tango pose. It's like some kind of just weird flash dance pose with like this. You have to see it to believe it, as with most abstract art. However, this is not North American Abstract Art Update, which we have set to premiere in June of 2026, once we get funding for that show.
Which isn't going to happen.
Can somebody give us some funding to sponsor Meadowlands Pick 4s?
Jeff Cullifer stable.
Huh?
Jeff Cullifer stable.
Yeah.
The Jeff Cullifer stable, of course, sponsors our pick 4s for each and every week. I also can't believe when I was listing all of the websites that we air on, the granddaddy of them all, SRN1, 148.ca. I can't believe I forget. It's just the video has gone so much to my head, what with all the stardom that's come from it, all of the money, all of the women, all of the many
of women watching this feed.
Are you talking about your personal life or somebody else's?
I can only speak from my own experience, Rodney. You've not seen the hotel rooms I rent after the shows we go to. We usually have to reimburse the hotels for the patio furniture, for the beds, for the shower curtains. It turns into
coming from a guy who fell asleep on the way back to the hotel from running Aces.
That's because of all the cocaine I did, making me so tired.
Yeah, cocaine doesn't really make you sleep, Ray.
Well,
it keeps you awake.
The coitus with the ladies will counteract.
Right.
If you could not tell, just I am the Jay Leno of harness racing, and it's purely because I have this big chin right here that I'm trying to hide. But it's harder to hide than my ego. Meadowlands has a pick 4, starting in race 8. It's a $50,000 guaranteed pool. We were talking about this before the show, about how it could be a potentially chalky sequence, but at the same time, could also be a sequence worth betting. Let's dissect it because we have the time. Not only because it could either pay nothing, but it also could pay something. Well, it's going to pay something either way, even if it pays nothing. The nothing is just kind of a metaphorical device for language to refer to the fact that why would you bet in the first place if it doesn't pay much? For those of you out there who aren't familiar with the harness racing lingo, I explain it incredibly fast so you can't understand it. Race 8 at the Meadowlands for this evening comes up in about 25 minutes, I say. I think it's about 25 minutes. There are 2 minutes to race 7, but with the drag, this race will go by Tuesday. We have a non-winners of $8,500 filly and mare pace to kick off this sequence. Purse of $11,550. The subsidy passed by the New Jersey legislature already taking a strong effect with that $50 extra in the pool. Of course, I kid. It's $100 million going into these pools in the next couple of years. However, Mike, I know where you stand in this race. Rod, though, you for some reason think this first leg does not revolve around the 1 and the 2, and how in God's green earth could you possibly think that?
Well, I'm using the 1 and the 2, obviously. The 1 and 1A entry is a Burke entry. Burke and Gingras have been on fire tonight. Already have 4 wins apiece. So I think maybe you have to use anything that they put on the racetrack at this point because they're all winning. So there's your 2 horses right there for the entry. The 2, Linbar Rose, comes over from Yonkers. Had some half-mile starts, but this is the first time on the big track for this horse after shipping in from New Zealand. First time Lasix tonight. I think this one should improve with the Lasix. Gets a much better post from what he had over at Yonkers. Got used pretty hard. Did fade, but obviously led in that start. So the addition of Lasix is good, but I'm more apt to use second-time Lasix than anything. And I also use the 7, Follow the Wind. This one's been very close recently. Only got beat a neck last week. Eric Abatello jumps on. This horse likes to leave and get up close and just kind of sit there and follow horses until late. Last week, he got out late and he was flying. He almost got there. I think maybe if Eric Abatello can get this horse out of the gate, up close, and just sit once again, that you're going to see her late. And, depending on what happens up front, maybe this one gets the right setup to be able to win this race at a pretty decent price, I think. So I'm 127 there.
Mike, is everything okay? I heard a noise that I don't think is natural.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I was trying to hold back that sneeze, but it didn't.
I just want to make sure that there wasn't some kind of devil spawn birthing from your canal. So, Mike,
Poltergeist.
I was more thinking Rosemary's Baby with less hot tubs. Mike,
I'm
though.
going to send whatever it is to murder you first.
Mike, though. You have the exact correct idea, not just the correct idea, the exact correct idea about this race, because you understand as well as I do that it's either the one or the two.
I think it is. I mean, the one Better Jackie comes from Woodbine. I might be a little familiar with those horses, and this horse was rounding into form, and then now goes to Burke. Won 13 times last year. Those numbers of 6,000 are extremely similar to these numbers of 8,000 here. The only horse that maybe might have a little more class than those in here is probably the 2. I think that the ones are obvious here. So even the 1A has a good chance. Kicked 27-3 last time, but Yannick took the 1. So obviously, I think he's kind of tipping his hand on that one there. Then the 2, has been racing numbers of 20,000, numbers of 30,000 at Yonkers, and has been favored all 3 starts. Crushed the first 2. Last time looks like got roughed up a little and quit. Now gets Lasix, and was going to be sub even money in the race. Draws well. I would expect this horse up front and be hard to maybe track down. So 1 and 2 to start. Very chalky, very obvious.
If I were a person who had thoughts about this race, as of course I play on TV, I would be thoughtful. I can't think of the word I was trying to use. I would be inclined, much like the mighty mountain, to take the 1 or the 2. However, if you go on to www.nahupicks.com, you go to the Meadowlands Picks tab, you will find all of the numbers that I so fancy on tonight's racing program. And on top, I have the 2, Lenebe Scissorface N, or as she's also known, Linbar Rose. I should probably pull up the program before I say the horse's name. She has so much back class. She drops into numbers of 8,500 from non-winners of 20,000. She won at that numbers of 20,000 level 2 start back over at Yonkers. That was her second start stateside. She won on debut over at Freehold by 6 lengths, and 56 is the odds-on favorite. And if you just toss her last race, which she made a move for the lead heading to the half, used herself up a little too soon, which then meant she had nothing left for the stretch drive. You just can't do that. You got to save yourself before you wreck yourself. She adds Lasix this time around, which is definitely a sign in the right direction, because that means that there was a valid excuse for her performance in that last race. And really, with that inside draw, she should not lose this race. But of course, the key word is should. Burke and Gingras have won 8 races so far tonight at the Meadowlands, and they've only run like 5. Gingras drives Bedham Jackie for Burke, shipping down from Mohawk. I have a hard time taking these Mohawk shippers just because of the wear and tear that ship can do on a horse. However, she's entering off a win, steps up slightly in class. I have to think that maybe she could handle it. Family Roll Call at the very least is a decent entry mate, as she came from off the pace in 27 and change to finish 3rd against this group last out. That was her first start in a month. She makes her 2nd start in a month now. Has an outside draw, most likely tries to work out a similar trip, and will need that kind of late kick in order to capitalize on any sort of chaos. 1, 2, though, those are the 3 horses that this race goes through. I say 3, even though it's 2 betting interests. 1, 2 to start off my Meadowlands pick 4. 9th race is the second leg. It's a $3,500 trot. Only the greatest trotters are allowed to race at this competition. $7,500 purse, field of 10 going postward. And Mike, clearly you have such a great opinion. You took almost all of them.
I took more than half, which is I really hate that, but here I go. The one Lenny Mac draws inside after bad post, drops from numbers of 5,000. Would definitely take money here. Gets Marcus now, and I would expect to be closer, similar to the 2-back line at Monticello. I think that horse is a use. The 2 Stitch in Time is 3rd back. Lost to Rosita last time, who jogged in race 2 or 3 tonight. So no Rositas in here. A lot easier company for this one, and I like 3rd back. I think that's a decent angle. The 4 Can Do has plenty of back class. 545,000 was first up last time and just couldn't reach. But that was as the favorite. Faltered, but still hung on to finish 4th in that race. And gets Yannick now, so that makes this one a use. The 6 Eeyore Hanover basically blew up on the front when doing okay. Looked good, and then all of a sudden just jumped it off. And was 5-2 in that spot. I would expect should take money, and if the horse stays flat, does have a chance in the race. And the 7, too much Hanover. The qualifier's decent. Kicked 28-4 there. Prior to that, was racing at upper levels at Freehold. So those equate well to this race. And then the 9, Ping-a-Ling, gets Corey Callahan off 2 wins at Freehold. Those are at bottom races, type conditions, but. Bargiano's been hot. I like to switch to the big track, and the horse is sharp. So in this kind of race, you can use this one. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9.
Now, Rodney, I understand you think it's as wide open a race, except you use less horses.
Yeah, way less. I'm 3 deep here. Starting with the 2 Stitch in Time. Like Mike mentioned, 3rd back off that month layoff. I think this horse is due to show a little bit of improvement. And you get a class drop here, so it's hard for me to fault from the inside. Should get a nice trip, and this is a very weak group compared to what he's been racing against in his last couple. The 4 Can Do gets Yannick to drive, and that's my main angle here. The horse hasn't been doing too much recently, but the driver change should help, and I think he's just got to be in the right spot. And Yannick is red hot right now, so that one's a must play. And then the 6 Eeyore Hanover. This one is the obvious horse. Last week was likely going to win that race before he broke. He was well in hand and just couldn't hold it together when they turned for home. You look back, he's been drawn very poorly. This is a good spot. Follow some live cover here, and if he doesn't leave, this is just a very good spot where he should be able to get a setup and stay close throughout the whole race, and just needs to stay flat. That's the biggest key with him, and he'll be right there. So I'm 2, 4, 6.
Minute 30 until London goes. I use 6, 9, much like Takashi, Eeyore Hanover. Showed a lot of speed, uncharacteristic to how he's raced ever in his last start. We all mentioned the break he made rounding the final turn, but I look mainly at the fact that he left the gate, got into contention, and then decided to cut down. So maybe if he just doesn't do the cut down part, he could possibly win this race, because this field is terrible. You thought I had a hard time with that one race at London. This one was way harder. Ping-a-Ling's the other horse I use. Mike mentioned this one, shipping over from Freehold, coming off of 2 straight wins, one from off the pace over on the smaller track, which to me just reaps that this horse wants 2 less turns. 6, 9 for me. In the second leg of the Meadowlands pick 4, we will continue with the final legs of that sequence after this race at London. It's race number 8, the second leg of the pick 4 over there. I am alive to the 2 and the 3. Rod is alive to the 3 and the 8, which means only one thing: the 2 needs to win this race.
Yeah, he doesn't.
8-5 favorite on the 8 Linnea, which I am genuinely surprised by. Sure, she was in the Battle of the Bells and much tougher horses, even though they were 2-year-olds. Tougher quotation marks last year, but it's not like she was third. She finished like 10th by 16, 6th by 9. Hasn't really been too.
The one should not be 18-1 in this race.
Well,
Seriously.
something tells me you should be putting your money on that.
Okay.
Did you hear how threatened Mike sounded by that? Maybe I should.
Battle Royale.
No, if you're gonna challenge me to a battle, give me a fortnight. 9-5.
Who do you have, Ray?
I have the 2 and the 3.
And Rod has 3-8 or something?
Yep.
Yeah, they...
As now they're lining up. Don't get that cough. 9-5 favorite, the 8 Linnea. 5-2 on the 3 Lovey Park. Field of 7 at the start. Now they're off in London. Farmers Independent swooping, trying to get to the cones, while St. Lad's Billie Jean fires in between horses, carrying him 4 wide into the first turn. Lovey Park shows speed 2 to the outside of Way Over, now getting away in the 4th spot, right about Laura's 5th. 6th then comes Linnea ahead of Miss Ohio and Block Party Style rounds out this field to the backstretch. St. Lad's Billie Jean brushing by Lovey Park to take control, while Farmers Independence left to the outside. They're then back to Way Over, stalking the duelers about 3.5 lengths off the top. Opening quarter goes in 29-3. Lovey Park gonna keep Farmers Independent to the outside to press St. Lad's Billie Jean into the second turn. Way Over then has a 3.5 length advantage on right about Laura, racing from 5th. Linnea vacates the cones from 6th, angles outside there, moving to the half, tracked by Miss Ohio. Then Block Party Style still trails, moving now to the half. St. Lad's Billie Jean, a half length better than Farmers Independent to the outside. Way Over found his way into the cover flow through a 1-minute, 2/5 half, 30-4 for that second quarter. Lovey Park's locked in, racing 3rd, shuffled back then right about Laura to the backstretch, now racing from 5th as Shepherd pulls 3 high with Way Over. Linnea tracks that one in between them. Farmers Independent retreats. It's still St. Lad's Billie Jean to 3/4, leading by a half length. Way Over draws closer to the outside while Lovey Park waits for room from the pocket. Linnea's racing up 2-3 high, up to be 4th, now only 2.5 lengths off the lead. 1:31-2 for 3/4, 31 seconds for that third panel. Way Over throws in the towel, leaving St. Lad's Billie Jean on a 1.5 length lead. Lovey Park to the inside, now with room to lunge out as Henry pulls the plugs into the lane. St. Lad's Billie Jean holding off Lovey Park. Deeper on the track comes right about Laura, but St. Lad's Billie Jean has him blown away. St. Lad's Billie Jean jolts to a 2.5 length win. Lovey Park 2nd, then right about Laura 3rd in 2:02.2. All right, St. Lad's Billie Jean somehow goes off the 9-5 favorite and knocks both Rod and I out of the pick 4. However, Mike was the only one of all of us who even gave this one a chance.
Yeah, I used 1-3-4. They ran 4-3-1, but it doesn't do me any good currently. The 1 was loaded the whole way.
Definitely a good call on that 1 horse, especially for triples and such. All right, so we have 2 more legs to talk about over at the Meadowlands pick 4. Actually, wait, why did I not like St. Lad's Billie Jean? Let me remember this.
I don't know, because the horse won last time at a better level and dropped to a climber. Like, I don't understand why the horse was 6-1 morning line.
Oh yeah, I had no idea why this.
That non-winners of 10,000 is not a better level. It's just a higher purse because it's not a claimer.
Yeah, well, that's fine if you think so, but
My thing was, I have a hard
thing is when they go for more money, it's usually a better level.
No, not in London. It's way worse, like a lot worse.
So let me ask you this. Now, Rod, and I'm serious about this. If you had a horse, would you rather go for more money versus less horses or face claiming horses for less money? Does that make any sense?
Well, they're not. They're putting horses in the straight races so they don't get claimed. That's the only reason. They put them in the claimers because the claiming price is $15,000 plus your allowance.
Okay.
So if
So what does that mean?
So if the horse gets claimed, he gets claimed for $22,500.
Nobody's claiming out of those races. Nobody ever. Who's going to claim a horse for $15,000? It's always the $10,000 life. It never happens.
There was actually one a few weeks ago that was getting claimed out of there, and the guy scratched.
Maybe they might claim twice, two of those horses in a year there at that level. Maybe.
Well, the guy put one in there, and there was a claim entered, and he scratched. So when you do that, you have to sit out for 30 days if you want to move the horse back out of the claimer.
Here's my thought. Now, and I understand this, that sometimes these claimers are a little bit tougher, but if I was an owner and I had a horse that I could go at an easier level for more money, I think I might try that. I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Wait, but my question is...
Here's the thing before you jump in, Ray. If you are an owner, would you not take 22.5 right now?
Nobody's claiming those horses.
Nobody. People are claiming them. I want you to go down to the next race.
Mostly horsemen.
Race number 9. Look at the 8. Claimed. Last start for $15,000.
But this isn't... $15,000. This horse is an upper level horse that's racing at upper levels, not a non-winner's a 10,000 life 15 claimer. That's a huge difference.
Where do you think the horse started?
No.
Ruby Tuesday.
And that's a 6-year-old and non-winners to be claimed.
Different animal. Completely different.
That's a 6-year-old and non-winners.
Races last year, it's almost $60,000. That horse is worth 15.
Okay, well the horse is a 6-year-old and non-winners to be claimed, and got claimed. You can
or one of these hogs from race 5, or race 8.
Or not.
I don't see too many C's next to those names. Wait, I'll try to find one. No, junk
in obscurity.
Let's move on.
Mine was on a handicapping principle. You can relate to this, Mike. I didn't understand. I wasn't thinking about this the way you were, but I wouldn't understand why, if you won a race, you would put the horse back into a claimer. That was the thing that made.
Well, I think that Rod's theory applies there in some ways. That somebody would have to give $22,000 for the horse, so it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand why these guys, if it's easier, wouldn't go for that race as opposed to the claimer that's $3,000 less. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Because nobody's claiming them.
I'm not claiming them.
I want to see if you could find me one, Rod. I'd love to see it.
If you were a loved one and found one of these claimers, please contact them.
Condition claimers at the Meadows. Nobody ever claims ever. You might get 2 or 3 a year. Period. A year, and they run like 10 races like that a week.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why they do that, because they have so many of them going in for that tag. You can basically put anything in there because it's such a high price tag for the horses. Why not?
Roddington, Rotherford B. Hayes, Mr. Allums. Can you please explain to me why in the third leg of this Meadowlands Pick 4, which is coming up in about 8 minutes, you decide to take almost half the field in this claiming handicap pace for a purse of $7,500? It seems like an excess amount of horses for a man to take. Like, I can understand taking 3 or 4, but it just seems like you're being real gluttonous here by taking 5, 6. You take 6.
I'm 6 deep.
You have the balls to take 6 in this.
Yeah, I just didn't like anything in here. It's a cheap race. It's a $7,500 to $10,000 claimer. I mean, everything in here kind of takes turns, week in, week out. A different horse is winning. The 2, Justin Berlander, last week got a very good setup and got up on the wire at 50-1. The 3, Spanish Art, is close every week, doesn't win that often though. You know, he was 3 for 30 something last year. You know, you can't trust him. but he's still a use. The 4, Abby Lara, came from way off the pace last time, had no chance to win that race off of the slow half, and was really just screwed sitting behind bad cover the whole way. The 6, Ideal Candidate, another one dropping a little bit in class from the straight 10s to the 7,500 10-claimer mixed. I think you're going to see improvement. We saw a better effort last week out of this horse, so maybe he's coming back into form. The 8, Beach Blast, another one that was just stuck behind poor cover last time, couldn't make up too much ground. Gets a little weaker field here, and second start on the big track. I like that angle as well. And then the 9, Modern Yankee, tough spot to start from, obviously, but if they go crazy up front, this is going to be the one closing, and he's got a very good late kick if he can get the right setup. So 6 deep there, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9.
Mike, you use 3 horses that I understand, but then you also use the 8.
I think the 8's worth a use only because, I think the 10 claimers are a lot tougher than the 7,500s. And, there's only, a couple regular 10 claimers in this race that pique my interest. I like Callahan getting back on the 8, and I think we'll be better than home 28 still last time too, and that's another reason I think that you can use the horse. So he's a use. The 6 is a use, like Rod said. The horse really had no chance last time. This is another 10 claimer that was dominating when in 7,500, and now it draws a little bit better. Dun sticks. This horse kicked home also last time, and it's a little bit of a trip type animal, but I think has a chance against these. I'm going to also use the 3 and the 4. The 3 is obvious, is basically right in the mix every week. For 10, for 75, always right there on the wire. Lost at 2 to 5 last time though, which is really, I'm not a fan of that. And then the 4, Abby Laura, another one that gets post relief. It's Zurich. This horse was favored 2 back against similar horses. Draws well, gets Yannick. I'll use that one also. 3, 4, 6, 8.
For me, Mr. Meadowlands expert, self-ordained, but really doesn't matter who gave me the title. The 3, 4, and 6 are the 3 key horses in this race. For me, myself, maybe I. Spanish Art to start things off. You did lose the odds-on favorite last out, but if you look at that race, a lot of horses raced very well coming from off the pace, including Justin Verlander and almost every other horse in that field besides Sports Cowboy. Although Sports Cowboy didn't necessarily come back the greatest earlier in the card, Spanish Art went the tougher trip in that race, and of the horses that were towards the front was, I think, the only other one to actually hold on, even though he was third by a neck. He's consistent. He needs the right trip that isn't parking the mile, and then he'll just be golden. Abby Lara has always raced better when up close to the pace on a helmet, and the last couple of starts, he's been on a helmet, but he hasn't been the up close to the pace part. He does not have that strong of a late kick. However, if he's in that 2-hole, coming around that final turn, he can pop out and blow by them all better than Andy Griffith on a Tuesday. This horse just needs to show some speed, and maybe the addition of Gingras will get this one off the gate a bit quicker, up into that close spot that we see like back on December 13th, December 9th. This horse was within 2 lengths of the lead at the head of the stretch, and that's where he was really doing his best work. Then the 6, Ideal Candidate. Parked the mile last out too. Came on 27 and change chasing horses. That was an Ohio Larry race. That was a Saturday night. And horses on Saturday night were not necessarily closing too well, as Rod and Mike can also attest to. There were a couple that did come from off the pace, but very scarcely. Ideal Candidate was one of them that tried to. But in every other start, he has some form of excuse. 2 starts back, used himself up early in the mile, heading to the half, yet still held on to finish 5th by 3 lengths. 3 starts back, just had a race go completely awry. You can toss that one completely. And now he's making his 4th start for the Danielle Daly Barn. So if anything, she's getting to, or he, I assume it's a she, is getting to know this horse a bit better with each start. And he could potentially continue on that trail of improvement. 3, 4, 6. For me in the third leg. Final leg is raced. there's a scratch of the one Iron Dome. I think it's the only scratch in this
1
race
and
that
3.
came in late. Oh, and Zet Starling scratch too. Okay, that doesn't really matter. But now there's 8 horses going postward, and this now is a $3,500 trot. Again, just a fantastic collection of trotters. Rod, you're too deep.
Yeah, I'm too deep here. I thought this race was pretty simple. I'm going to start with the 2 Bella Chick. Steve Smith, Karen Garland combo, has been racing okay up that last start. 2 starts ago made a break, and then last time he just sat the rail and made sure the horse stayed flat. I'll excuse that start there, but you look back and the prior form was very good. Same class level he's been racing in, and this is a very weak group here that he should be able to be right there against once again. And then the 6, Can't You Spell? Big driver change here. Eric Carlson jumps on. That's my angle here. I'm using no other angle other than that, and that's my play on the night right there. The 6, Can't You Spell, in race 11. Bang, bang.
Rod, you say that like you know how a protractor works. Mike, I know that you were originally 8-9 in this race, but you changed your mind.
I was. It's hard to trust a 9 in the race, just, with his breaks and things. And if you're going to add to the ticket, obviously use the 9, gets you on it. But, Rod alerted me to the driver change on the 6, and I tend to agree. Has a post edge, won 6 times last year. Doesn't really have very many X's on the page. I'll use that one. And then the 8, who I thought raced very well last time. Nearly won, chasing down Photo King, who extremely sharp right now. That horse has won 3 out of 4 in the class. And this horse is extremely capable when he's right. And he looked good that night. And if he continues, I think that he could really, crush this race. Gets markets also, and I like that, 6 and 8.
I also like the 6 and 8. They're 2 horses that are very nice looking to me. Oh man, you gotta crack your back every now and again. The kids are all the rage on cracking backs. It feels so good to do and not to eat. Can't You Spell has ridden the rail in his last 2 starts, finished third 2 starts back doing so after getting shuffled to last, came home and gained 6 lengths through the stretch to finish third. His most recent start, got shuffled into a similar spot, but he kind of came home in a much more menial manner. This time around, I know Rod mentioned the driver change, definitely significant, but this horse has also been showing signs of life in his last couple of starts. Now makes his 4th start of the year and can only keep improving from there. Montalbano B, when he doesn't break, is okay. That is when he doesn't break. That's about it for him. Here Comes Numbers, then is the 3rd one I used from post 7. So long as he blasts off the gate, which of course is definitely an important precursor to mention, because if this horse doesn't blast off the gate, I don't really see him being much of a factor here. He has some decent miles over Monticello, despite some post draws, some outside post draws, but he's definitely taken to the bigger track better than he has the smaller track. But again, it's important that he gets off the gate, because then if he doesn't, he's going to have too much stuff to do in the late ends of the mile. 6, 7, 8 for me makes my ticket goes as follows. 50 cents. I am 1-2 with 6, 9, with 3, 4, 6, with 6, 7, 8, $18 for 50 cents. Mike, your ticket.
1-2 with 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 3, 4, 6, 8 with 6, 8. It's 48, and I played it.
Rod.
1, 2, 7 with 2, 4, 6 with 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9 with 2, 6. It's $54. Make you holla.
They got about 41,000 in the pool right now. They're still kind of post-parading and messing around.
At 9:54 p.m., the scoring continues over at M1, 7-5 now on the 2, Linbar Rose. Second choice at 2-1, the entry, Bedham Jackie family roll call. We have 2 choices at 9-1, January, which, I mean, yesterday would have been the play, but now this horse could finish up the track for all I care. And then Chillin' at DeVee, also at 9-1.
That is a good price in the 7, Rod. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're going to take 20-1, you could do worse.
Follow the Wind is mentioned on NAHUpicks.com. I will mention 4th is the 4th contender I had marked. Storm Tracker at 8-1 is a little low in all honesty from that post, especially. 20-1 on Follow the Wind is much better than Storm Tracker.
I agree.
However, this race goes entirely through Linbar Rose, which...
Did you expect this horse to be lower, though? I mean, it's supposed to be 3 to 5 here.
But you have the Burke horses in this race, too.
Okay, I mean, I get that, but I just... Maybe it'll close lower. But.
I mean, 7-5 at this point seems pretty reasonable, as the pick 4 pool is almost at the guarantee, so we probably have another 2 minutes until they go, or 3 minutes.
The 3 looks good in the track, also.
And this is one that I had marked as a maybe. I believe this one is making her stateside debut.
I'd be curious to follow this one after this race. This is a tough spot, but
I don't mind the 3 here. I almost used the 3 in the pick 4, but I decided to give the horse one start before I back her heavily.
Well, just how generous of you.
Perfect.
How generous of you to give her one start. Not many people are that liberal about it. I mean, 10-1 on that horse, you could do worse in this race. The qualifier is good. Australian shippers this time of year can do okay. There's one horse in particular that I'm being reminded of. It was a Mark Harder horse. Was it She's a Beach? There was like some kind of mare a couple of years ago at the Meadowlands that shipped over.
I remember that.
Aussie. Yeah, from Aussie land. Started like the bottom level and then became a preferred mare. But I can't remember her exact name.
I'm sure it'll come to you. So we're going to watch this race. We're going to do this race, do a break, and then we'll get Josh Hansen on with us.
Josh Hansen.
He'll be on at about 10:15. He just texted me.
Josh Hansen, Mr. Barbaro, 1420, a man with a strong mouth.
If you follow him on Twitter, he's very interesting.
Strong mouth, strong heart. That's what I get from him. As Linbar rose now down to 6-5.
Like Bruce Almighty.
There's a meltdown happening in my nuclear reactor. Does this race at all seem worth betting vertically?
No.
That's what I'm wondering, because I mean, Storm Tracker's now 10-1. I could see Storm Tracker winning, but it's an uphill battle. And for those who aren't familiar with the works of gravity, uphill battles are much harder than downhill battles.
So we're doing this race. They're getting ready to go to London also.
Are you kidding me?
Would I lie to you?
No. Wait, London is at 45 seconds. Well, we're taking Meadowlands because we haven't even. We're out at London. We can give back the results of that.
Yes.
But the Meadowlands, we're all live because it hasn't started yet. Pick 4 is beginning conception.
The ones, I think a decent enough price if you like. Get 2 for 1 there, and they're both equally as solid, I think.
My brain goes to either Follow the Wind or Storm Tracker if you want to find some horse to bet to win in this race. But Linbar Rose is definitely the one to beat for me.
Agree.
And then there's Mitch Cushing on. Wait, is that Mitch Cushing on Storm Tracker now? It is. Oh, that's right. Because Houston called off.
Not to take 11-1.
Yeah, Houston called off tonight. Cushing can put him in a spot. He's been driving fairly well recently.
He's been driving better. I'll give you that. Better.
That's because he finally figured out if you put a horse on a helmet, they do something.
You know, it's a difficult nut to crack that place, and there's a lot of good drivers there that have the best stuff, and it's difficult to break in there. And it's really, I think it's probably the hardest place there is.
I was talking to Marcus about that one of the often pacing lives I did. He told me that he didn't really feel comfortable with the Meadowlands until like a couple years in.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got serious talent. I mean, that's, you know.
5 favorite, the 2 Linbar Rose. 5-2 on the entry of Bedham Jackie and Family Roll Call. 8-1 third choice, then the 3 January. Field for the 8th, in line, in behind, at the start, and now they're off and a pacing. Family Roll Call shows speed to the far outside with Give Me Your Heart. pushing through towards the center, also showing speed, chilling at DeVee to the first turn, going out towards the top. Chilling at DeVee clears Give Me Your Heart by a length and a quarter. Away third, the favorite Linbar Rose is now Family Roll Call tucks in fourth, ahead of her stablemate Bedham Jackie from fifth. January 6th, then ahead of Duck Duck Dragon. They're then followed by Follow the Wind with Parkin, or rather Storm Tracker wide of Parkin and Heaven towards the rail in the back. 28 and 3 for the first quarter. Now Linbar Rose clears control for Dunn to the backstretch. Heading to the 3/8 pole, she leads by a length and a half. Chilling at DeVee sits the pocket while Give Me Your Heart is back third. Family Roll Calls fourth. Her stablemate Bedham Jackie's going to angle off the rail from fifth. Supplies covered at January moving towards the half. Follow the Wind's locked in then as Duck Duck Dragon enters the flow third over, gapping a touch ahead of Storm Tracker fourth up. Then it's Parkin and Heaven in the back of the field through a 58 and 1/2, 29 and 3 for that second quarter. Bedham Jackie brushes past Linbar Rose to take control around the final turn. January's now left uncovered to race from third, a length and 3/4 off the lead. Chilling at DeVee, locked in by Duck Duck Dragon, gaining ground second over, now to be fifth. Give Me Your Heart then is locked in sixth. Family Roll Call begins to tip 3 high from the back for Ginsburg, while Follow the Wind looks for racing room to the inside of Storm Tracker as they go past 3/4. It is Bedham Jackie in front in 1:26, 27 and 4 for that third quarter. Bedham Jackie, the one to catch. January to the outside, trying to get past, while Linbar Rose now has room to dive to the inside for Dunn. January takes the advantage though into the 8th ball. Linbar Rose trying to rally to the inside. Bedham Jackie returning from in between, and Bedham Jackie resurging to maybe hold off January on the line. It's tight. Bedham Jackie made January, but the photo will reveal Linbar Rose did get third. It's tight in 1:53 and 4.
Quite the interesting drive on the two there.
Weird that Bedham Jackie just came back like that. You don't see that every day.
That horse does that though.
You see,
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. That horse has done that in the past. And the 3 hung just enough.
Yeah.
The 3 looked great on the track though. I mean, that was one that we kind of tipped before.
Did the 3 get up?
As looking at the track, and the horse raced extremely well.
It's tight.
I think the 1 got it, but
I think the 1 got it too.
just
the 2 did.
When I saw the 3 taking that kind of money, I got a little bit worried there.
I think the 1's there, but
it's close.
But you saw the 3 on the track, and that made me curious. I mean, it's not often that, there are some horses you see, like Rod can attest to this too. You just look at them, and they just have a look to them. That you know that they're ready. They look, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
And other horses, you look at them and you go, this horse will be my wife. Photos.
No, I'm saying though that there are some that tab themselves in post parades that they.
No, I know. I've done it myself, but at the same time, it's a weird thing to say that opens itself up to humorous interpretation.
No, it's a subjective thing. I mean, it's something that you have to decide for yourself what you like, and we've talked about this in the past also.
1-3.
It's
1, 3, 2, 4.
It's kind of like pornography. You know it when you see it.
That's what my favorite Justice John Roberts, I think, said.
I mean, am I right, Ron?
No, it's true. I know porn when I see it. Bedham Jackie narrowly holds off January in the first leg of the pick 4, propelling all of us to the next leg over at London. We'll bring you the results of that after we go to break. So when we come back here, we'll have Josh Hansen, Barbara 1420 on to talk about horse racing, social media, as well as betting structure, so on. Then later in the show, Russ Adams will be stopping by to preview this 2019 season over at Rosecroft. More North American Harness Update coming up after the Fat Lady Sing, which will be
make up your own. Like Ray Catola live from Woodbridge. And decided to have a speeding ticket last week.
Unfortunately. Joined here by Mike Prebosi, Ron Allums Jr. When we last left off on the show, we all progressed in the Meadowlands late pick 4, by which I mean the pick 4. There is no late pick 4 because that would mean there's an early one for you to bet. We got Bet'em Jackie home at 5-2, holding off January in the final strides. Meanwhile, over at London, the third leg of the pick 4, Cena Magician goes off at odds of 9-5.
Who was the Sugar Doyle spot play on NAHUpicks.com today?
All out.
He's hot on the spot plays.
He's hot, period. Forget spot plays.
He is hot.
Get
the person. We will be dousing him with water.
I would buy him dinner first.
Okay, then.
Race 9 at the Meadowlands is listed to go in 1 minute, but they aren't on the track yet. So we probably have. Yes, homosexuality, the first sin of man, next to not paying taxes. London's pick.
All right, then, Ray.
Ends with the 10th race. I gotta be nonchalant about it because I really don't care. Race 10th at Western Fair goes in 5 minutes according to their clock. Meadowlands race 9 goes in 1 according to theirs. Needless to say, they are going to run over each other no matter what. Coming up soon, we will have Josh Hansen on the show, waiting for him to dial up. Which you'd think in the year 2019, the year of our Lord, we would have broadband and other sorts of faster cabled internets. Dial-up still exists. That's incredible. It's like the other day I was on the road. I drove past a library, the ones with books in them. I could think, can't they just upload this to the cloud? Why do they need an entire building for this? Put a building in the cloud. You're wasting space where we could put more Costco's. It's a weird world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. It's a strange. I think that's the movie I'm thinking of. It's a strange world. It's a mad world. And not to be confused with the Gary Jules song, which is a cover, a Daft Punk song. I think it's a Daft Punk song.
I have no idea.
Somehow Nasty Rumor's going to win again after not winning for like 3 years.
Oh, we gotta give a shout out to Dan Kahn, who hit the pick 4 at Mohawk earlier. $18 ticket, came back $460.
Good. I had a horse that I had picked third win at 27-1 there.
Bang
that
bang.
I had used on my ticket. I'm not sure if he paid attention to the website, but.
I don't know if you meant that as sleight of hand as you said it.
No, I'm saying that. But actually, I should have hit too. The first leg totally screwed me. Race 4 cost me like $1,000 tonight because I didn't use Wah getting onto the 3 horse. But that's just me. I mean, that's just my stupidity.
Well, I mean, the $1,000 mistakes I make are mistaking the drive pedal for the brake pedal. But it's each their own.
No, that's true. I mean, if you look at my tickets that I have posted, that's a fact.
I know, and if you look at my car, you'll see that there is a giant dent on the back of it because I backed into a light post.
It's good that Rod has all these things like queued
up. I don't know what choo-choo trains have to do with this, but gosh damn it, if it keeps Rod happy, then I'm happy. You remember, Mike, when one of your 18 kids was young and you'd have the keys on the ring, all you would have to do is just jingle them in front, and then they would just be the happiest children in the world. And then they learned that Hitler was a person, and that's when
we're not bringing Hitler into this show. Period.
there's a point to be made there, though.
There's nothing good that can come of it.
Well, we know that now, but my point being is that there's an innocence to just jingling that keys, and then it's ripped from us as we grow old. So we all strive to at some point return to that infant-like state. Which is why I've started whenever people jingle their keys laughing at it.
You're a lot closer than the rest of us.
To death?
No, to the infant state.
Oh. I like to also think to death, but that's a personal preference. You see, folks, You see, ladies and gents, this is the kind of stuff that happens in between races because there's certain lulls when you go to the racetrack. Besides the laugh out louds and the rolls on the floors and all of the other sorts of teen slang that are mostly for sexual positions. When you're not talking about racing, you just talk about whatever's in the news because it's all about connecting with people. Like Mike and Rod are two people that I connect with, and then I'm a person they refuse to admit they connect with me. You see, folks, it is camaraderie. The racetrack is all about camaraderie, and that's the lesson I want to take from tonight's show.
Why?
Because I want both of you in my bed tonight.
Wow, come on, man.
It's too easy. You're too.
No, it's not. It's not easy.
Well, no, it's not easy to get you into bed. I've tried.
You couldn't get me into your bed at knife point.
Super gay.
No, my point is that it's too easy to make you uncomfortable. Do I hear a special?
Oh, I'm not uncomfortable.
Are you not uncomfortable?
No.
Oh,
Josh
that's
has
a shame
joined
that I
us.
haven't been doing too well.
Josh has joined us.
It's Mr. Hanson.
What's happening, fellas? How you doing?
Mr.
Welcome to the
Hanson.
show.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you perfectly, and that accent's coming through clear and crisp.
Mostly Canadian speaking, loud and clear.
I have New York blood, so I will be slurring most of my words through this show. Just bear with me. So for those who've never tuned into Twitter.com, you won't know that Josh is a man who Josh, I described you as a man with a strong mouth and a strong heart. I think it's good. I think it's a good description.
I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah, I have strong convictions, and I stand by what I say. That's correct. Yeah.
Not great on the eyes, but we don't have to go there. So,
beggars can't be choosers.
Tell me about it. Earlier this week on Twitter, and this was what also brought Mike to contact you to come onto the show. You were talking about horse racing's presence on social media, and for one, I'll admit that we have a platform capable of having a lot of success on social media. I just don't have the time to really go about doing that. However, I'm more so interested in, firstly, what brought you to just go on this thread about social media presence?
Well, what I've noticed, in the last however many 5 years that I've been on Twitter, you start to notice a major disconnect from the corporate accounts versus the personal accounts. I mean, just this week we've seen the articles written about Gabe and Pompano, and I think you've seen the disconnect between Pompano and Gabe. Gabe is his own entity and created his own following, separate from Pompano. And I mean, it's an avenue that people can use to wager on Pompano, but it's not a corporate account saying, Joe Blow is over here doing this, or bet $2 and you can do this. I mean, it's the corporate accounts are so generic now that it's lost interest. There's no meaning to it anymore. Everybody's just kind of going, yeah, brush by it. Yeah, we follow it, but we mute it, or we follow it. It's just kind of scroll past. I mean, look at the interaction these tweets are getting from the corporate accounts. They got 10,000 followers, getting 2-3 likes per tweet because it's not engaging to the target demographic of horse players, and it's really frustrating for me because I think they just overlook the horse playing aspect of it. They're really focused on the lifestyle, gambling just not a part of the conversation with these corporate accounts. And I just don't understand. It's the lifeblood of the sport, but it's just so overlooked.
Now you and I are kind of on the same page that gambling is the lifeblood of the sport entirely. But when you say that they don't necessarily focus on that, how would you go about kind of introducing that into their presence online?
Well, what I think you got to do is kind of humanize the account a little bit. Have some interaction. People, I mean, you see the harassment that some of the big thoroughbred ones take. I mean, Naira and stuff. These guys got 20,000 followers. People constantly berating them with insults because of Stewart's decision, or a trainer that may be questionable is winning races nonstop, and you just don't have any interaction back and forth. It doesn't necessarily have to be denigrating towards someone who may be pushing the limits. Have some fun. Be a little bit sarcastic. We've seen corporate accounts to take the fast food industry for example. I mean, you see the Wendy's and the Dairy Queens; they're back and forth constantly. Now we don't have that type of following. We're not a worldwide sensation. Horse racing is a niche industry. But how fun would it be to see Naira and Gulfstream kind of go back and forth? Naira, jabbing a little bit about post times, dragging post times, and back and forth about short field sizes in New York over the winter. They had 4-horse fields today. How fun would it be to just see them going back and forth? Just show the side that it's not just an automated tweet being sent out every 15 minutes saying, "Hey, check this out," or "We're going to have Pegasus this weekend." Put something behind it that it will engage people to maybe take an extra second to look at it, maybe tweet back something, like it, retweet it, get involved,
Which I feel like what you're touching on is kind of like that fear of vulnerability with these corporations to try and actually humanize themselves. Because like me, for instance, on Twitter, I don't care what I understand. I work in horse racing, but I also just tweet whatever comes to my mind. I don't care. I take it. I have fun with it, and I lose followers as a result.
Well, we don't have to answer to anybody, though. I mean, that's the thing. And I think what he said, like he said, that the article with Gabe this week, that opened a bunch of eyes in a lot of ways, because he is his own man, but yet he's pumping all this stuff into Pompano, and he's creating a lot of the buzz that's involved with all the carryovers. The corporate account is completely, it's worthless. I mean, it doesn't do you any good to follow it. I would have no idea what's going on at Pompano if I was looking at their account. The Meadows, same way. Meadowlands, it's a little better than some, but they're almost all the same thing.
Well, I mean, the big thing that I noticed, the tracks that we engage with, specifically Western Fair, they're very active on social media. They retweet things that they see from us, from other people, because we're partners with them, and they're really the one track that isn't afraid to go out and say what they want to say on social media. And I think I agree with Josh here that racetracks need to be not just more involved in social media, but going that extra step and having fun with their social media.
Which I mean, like that's what exists in the first place. Where no one goes on to Twitter thinking that they're going to actually, overthrow a government. It doesn't work that way. It's Twitter.com, where people just tweet jokes about how they aren't getting laid, or maybe that they're just. It's just a place. It's a playground essentially, and it doesn't really seem that racing. I agree with you, Josh, on this. That racing is moving towards that understanding as some of these other companies are with Twitter. Like I feel like I do a decent job with branding myself, but Gabe does a fantastic job, because everything that he's done and brought to Pompano is because he's branded himself as the send it in guy. He created this arbitrary conglomerate that is just created this identity of bettors that will drive money into pools, which I never really thought was possible either.
I mean, if that's not a perfect example, and I mean, this is so small time. I mean, in the bigger picture of everything, Pompano is so small time. For him to be able to create that out of that with such little base to begin with is phenomenal. The fact that these big harness and thoroughbred tracks have already an enormous following, the fact that they can't capitalize on the people that already have eyes locked into them, that they can't expand on that anymore, is just completely mind-boggling to me.
Which, I mean, that's just one of many issues within the sport, of course. I could go into some of your other opinions that are probably not kosher for this show, but...
Well, I'll jump in real quick. That's kind of why we started doing this video, because we were just doing radio, and we ended up starting the video because, there's nothing else that does this in the entire sport. Thoroughbreds or harness. Nobody does this. This is completely new for our sport. For any other industry, this is the norm. You look at daily fantasy football. People do it all the time. Fantasy football has a huge video vlogging community.
It's not even real.
Right. It's not even a real thing. It's fantasy.
Wow.
So it's the same concept in a different sport, but nobody does it. And guys like you, Josh, that call people out on it, they're few and far between we kind of started doing that, but why did you decide that you wanted to start calling these racetracks out on it?
Plain and simple is because I love the sport. I see it going in the wrong direction, and I've done some things in the past that are maybe a little detrimental overall. But the stuff that I do horse racing related on there is strictly because I love it so much. I mean, I've tried to do different things with breaking down old tickets, winning ones, where I've gone through different stages of how I handicapped it, how I put the ticket together, how everything came to be. I mean, it's stuff that I do on there for horse racing because I love it so much. I'm really against the cheating guys, and people say, well, you harp on it so much. It's like, I don't harp on it because I don't like them, and it's not like I'm jealous, or I don't have any horse background. I don't own any horses. It's not like I'm jealous of any trainers. I just want to be a transparent sport where people are comfortable to come in, places a wager where they feel comfortable doing it, and progress further so we can move on and have a sport in 15 or 20 years when my kids are my age, and we can have it forever. It just seems to be going in the wrong direction, and I just hate seeing it.
It's definitely a lot of damage to undo with the whole kind of stigma that a lot of it is rigged. Which I talked to kids my age that still believe that, and their parents I doubt even went to a harness race in their life, or a thoroughbred race for that matter. It's just kind of what's accepted. Meanwhile, no one's talking about NASCAR going, oh, they fixed those races. Those are fixed races. Come on, let's all be honest. But in horse racing, that's not necessarily the case. Yet we have miles of track to undo in terms of our relationship with the public, and at the very least, it seems like making the sport more human would probably at least be a decent start.
And you guys brought up Western Fair. They had an incident a couple weeks ago where it was brought to their attention something, and they just jumped right in front of it. They brought it right to the people commission. I'm not exactly familiar with the exact commission they brought it to, but they brought it right to their eyes. They dealt with it. They put a press release out. There was everything, just bang, 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 dealt with it. And if we could see more of that on a level across all of racing, I mean, it would speak volumes to people that are involved, because so many people involved are already bitter. I mean, we love it, but we stick around, but we're bitter. And it would just alleviate some of that bitterness, maybe get some new people involved in the game. But to see them jump out in front of it like that was just phenomenal.
Yeah, the incident that you're talking about was a short exacta payoff with, what was it, $40 or so?
Yeah, for like a 25-1 on top of a favorite or something.
Yeah, it was like I think the win price was $1 more than the exacta payoff on the horse. It was bad, but they investigated it. The very next day, they released a statement saying what had happened, where the bet was made that caused the payoff to be so low, and all the details that needed to be included in it. Like you said, Josh, the transparency, that's why we deal with tracks like Western Fair, because they have no issue doing things like that. That is part of what should be done day in, day out throughout the entire industry. And it's not done, and I think that's a big problem as well. But, Ray, what were you going to say there?
I was going to mention the incident, but you did that for me. Josh, however, you brought up one other facet about you. We could go on all day about things that you're passionate about, but let's talk about another thing you're passionate about, which is the actual betting. You're a horse player who not only will put his money where his mouth is, but also through the betting window itself. And what we also are always interested in is different approaches to how people tackle things such as just vertical wagers, horizontal wagers, and such. If I'm not mistaken, you're a big fan of like pick fives, pick fours, correct?
Yeah, that's most of my action. Yep.
Oh, okay. Afraid to play some trifectas. I got you. So I understand they're difficult, but those are very popular wagers, both in harness and in thoroughbreds. There's certain ways some people play where it's like you front load and then you go light towards the end, but of course it all kind of varies with whatever kind of sequence you look at. You look at predominantly thoroughbreds. Have you ever looked at any harness? You bet harness at all?
I started with those many years ago at Stampede Park in Calgary. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with.
No, I know Stampede Park.
But it was kind of how I was got into it because when I first got into it in Calgary at the time, I wasn't really familiar with simulcasting. So the thoroughbred season had ended and transferred into the harness. So I'm a little bit familiar with it. I find it more susceptible to cheating. I guess I'm not sure if that's taboo to say on the show, but I find it's just a little bit more difficult to trip handicap. Unless you're watching week in and week out and knowing how these animals have traveled every week, I find it very difficult to read through the program to determine what's going to happen. I have better luck with thoroughbreds, but I've devoted a lot more time to it. So nothing against the harness stuff. I just devote a little bit more time to thoroughbreds.
Well, I just learned that we lost some funding, which is fine. We can work with that.
No,
but
no, listen. You're worried about what you say on this show. Do not be worried at all what you say. This is not the normal PG show. You can drop an F-bomb if you want. I don't. We don't care.
That's not saying you should. That's not saying you should. It's not suggested, but if it happens, it's just like okay.
Understood.
F word is like the highest I'll let slide. Everything above that, I might have to contact the authorities. However,
we're talking about a lot of different things here, but I have a couple questions. One, what do you think of the Hong Kong racing and what they do over there, as far as the fact that they regulate everything to the nth degree? There's really not a lot of cheating issues that go on over there and that's extremely regulated. They control most of the horses, the trainers, everything over there. Plus, I feel like they produce a decent product with the big fields. It just seems more legitimate to me. I'm not sure what your opinion of it is.
Well, I'll preface my comments by saying that I'm fairly limited knowledge on exactly the inner workings of how everything operates. From the basic knowledge that I do possess of what they have going on over there, the transparency seems to lead to gigantic handle. Now, I don't know whether or not it's something that has just been passed down generation to generation, where that's just what people do there. They wager on that stuff, but it speaks volumes to me that their level of regulation is translated directly into just monster handle. I mean, they're handling billions and billions of dollars.
It's huge.
Weekly, monthly, right? I mean, it's day in and day out over there. So
their exactables are 15 million.
Exactly. And I mean, for that to be happening, we can't just call it a coincidence to say, well, that's just what they do, or that's how much they bet. I mean, the fact that it's that transparent, that people feel that comfortable spending that kind of money there, should speak volumes to what they're doing over there. So I'd like to see even just a little bit of a portion of that translate to what we see in everyday racing in North America.
When I hear those numbers and such, I'm not familiar with it either. So like some things I would want to know, for instance, are they commingled pools for number one? Number two, they are now? Okay.
Yes.
Number two, does the fact that they only race 2 days a week help build those pools up at all? Because you look at like North American horse racing. There's so many tracks going that if you had simply one track going and all the money concentrated towards that, it wouldn't be of that caliber, but it'd be some much higher numbers if Santa Anita was the only racetrack running, but they could have more than 5 horses in a field, for God's sake. But with that, what was the point I was going to get to from that? I can't remember. Oh, yes, I was going to ask you this, Josh. A couple years ago, NYRA, they started releasing vet records, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Was there any trend of positive handle as a result? I can't remember.
The information is so difficult to come by. I mean, you got to follow the proper Twitter account. They got the images uploaded sideways, so you got to tilt your phone, trying to read through veterinarian scribble marks on a piece of paper. I mean, they're trying to be transparent. The idea behind it is right. It's still not terribly accessible, to be frank with you. I mean, sure, and then so you read it. You can try to read 33 milligrams of flanoxin on a Thursday, 4 days before the Belmont. Okay, thanks.
What does that mean?
Thanks for trying, but it's just not really. I mean, it's just so much more into it after the fact. You'd hope that the regulators are able to present the information in a transparent fashion for the layman to understand. I don't have the time to dig in past what I'm just reading, right? So it's difficult. I mean, I couldn't say there was a positive or negative impact from it, but I think the impact alone was just minimal, period.
like for instance, one thing the vets could do at the very least is they could write 33 milligrams of flumoxetine in parentheses, makes horse run faster. Then I'd understand.
Sure, right? Give it to me, right? Yeah, exactly.
No, but like as a bettor myself, I don't put big money down necessarily because I have to pay for my own college, if I even can. But I've never once had questions of like am I betting into a product I don't trust, which I feel is probably because I don't put as much money down. So I let more things slide than other people do. But do you definitely think that's kind of a bias some people might have? Is if they're so invested in it, they're going to be more inclined to kind of take certain choices negatively in races and such?
Well, I think it's a byproduct of the environment that we're putting ourselves in. I mean, the more you're invested, the more you're going to be upset if things go wrong, and the happier you're going to be when things go well. So I think that because of it's just all horse players' mentality. I think we're all somewhat negative to begin with when we're putting big money out there, just because it's an expensive hobby. No matter how you shake it, the takeout rates are so high that it's an expensive hobby, windbreaker, win, lose, or draw type scenario. So I think there's just a bit of a negative connotation in our minds prior to even going into it a lot of the times. And I spoke about this earlier about just we're bitter. I think we're a bitter group of people, and I wish it wasn't that way. Like, I mean, I don't feel like I'm a negative person overall. I feel like I'm a fairly positive guy. I got 2 little boys that I try to raise properly and be a good role model to. But when it comes to racing, there's so many variables that just don't appear to be right at face value that sometimes when things go wrong, it just spirals. And I feel like sometimes I'm part of the problem, despite wanting it to get better. But I know I wish I had a better answer for it, but I do think that the negativity kind of spirals a little bit when you have bigger money invested. Yeah.
I think though that you're more willing to jump in and say, hey, this isn't right. Hey, this is wrong here. Hey, this doesn't seem right. That you're more apt to do something like that publicly as opposed to other people in a lot of ways. Now, when you go to the racetrack, it's I mean, everybody's kind of pissing and moaning and things like that. But as far as online, I mean, there are some guys, you have the sugarcoating guys that everything's wonderful, everything's great, and then you have other guys that are, more realistic, that'll say, hey, that was a bad ride. Hey, that was a bad drive. Or, hey, something stinks here, something like that. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff I think that there's some separation. Depending on the kind of human being you are you willing to be the person that says, hey, this is bull, kind of thing. And you're that guy. I mean, I've followed you for quite a while. And I have no problem with that. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that, I've gotten in trouble before too, believe me, for saying things that I probably shouldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was gonna say that definitely also helps that Josh, you aren't as deep in the industry, say like me, for example. Because if I were to say some of the thing, if I were to be as ballsy as you in some cases, I would not be heading to Orlando to go collect my precious award. I will melt down and sell to the Chinese for titanium dollars.
Well, either way, before we let you go, Josh, I wanted to ask you about a couple weeks ago when a ticket was posted, and then this was a public ticket at a track. Describe the situation for us so we can get it all right, and what your response was.
Okay. Let's see. Cut to the chase here. A track handicapper. Can we name names?
Yeah, you can name whoever the hell you want.
Okay, so track handicapper, on-air simulcast host and race color and jockey agent, Jimmy McNerney at Turfway Park, on his personal Twitter account, had given his pick 4 play for the evening. Pick 4, pick 5, I can't remember at this point, but insignificant. And played his ticket. First couple races went off. First race was a major long shot, 65-1. So on and so forth. After the 4th race, so it was a pick 5 actually. So after the 4th race, that tweet subsequently was deleted, and a new ticket was posted with different singles on it, saying, "Let's get this single home in the 5th leg for a $6,500 score." The 5th race came, and his single won, and he took the credit for it and was bragging about it. It just so happened that a friend of mine had taken a screenshot of the original tweet because he wanted some Turfway action that night and was going to punch it into his ADW as is. So he sent it to me. He goes, "What's going on here? I can't find this tweet. You're better at Twitter than I am. Figure out what's going on here." We look back. The tweet's gone. Jimmy's pumped up. He's got tickets galore. And next thing you know, we put a couple of screenshots together and said, "Hey, what's going on here, Jimmy?" And, next thing you know, he tried backtracking a little bit, saying, "Oh, they got a budget to adhere to on the screen. They can't go over $36, but I just added on." Turns out the ticket that he posted and the ticket that he played had 4 different singles, two in different races. Nothing resembled each other from the original ticket to the one he played, and so then it got a little bit heated. Then Jimmy deleted his Twitter account. Not looking good. By this point, I kind of swirled up the masses a little bit. People started to kind of catch on what happened. Really, people are trying to lay into the Turfway Twitter account, which kind of makes this whole conversation come full circle. But by that time, Turfway, to their credit, had reached out to me. Jimmy had found someone that we both know, got my phone number, gave me a call. Said he wanted to say his side of the story. So I let him go. Within 30 seconds of the phone call, he lied to me. Didn't go well after that. It didn't set a great precedent for the rest of the phone call. Nonetheless, we didn't really get anywhere. He told me his side of the story. I didn't believe much of it. He left very angry. I left as neutral as I could. I posted what we had talked about at Jimmy's understanding. I didn't hide anything from him. I told him I would let him know that I was posting it. He agreed. After that, then people really started to be concerned because Jimmy was basically going on the defense that he'd rather be known as an idiot than a fraud. He basically just said that's how he does cover tickets, and that's how I play, and if you don't like it, too bad, is essentially what he did. And I mean, if you're a player of any level, you understand how to make tickets, and that's just not how to do it. Fast forward a week, Chip Bach, the GM of Turfway Park, reached out via phone call as well, gave me a call, specifically told me what his side of the story was. I give a ton of credit to him for doing that. He doesn't have to do that. I'm some guy in ice cold Alberta making racket on Twitter. He took his time. He called me, explained the situation, said they changed some protocols, how they're going to do things moving forward. Both are on-air simulcast hosts will be required to wager with a tracked Turfway card, that their wagers can be monitored. They cannot vary as wildly as they did originally from his ticket. They do have a $36 budget to adhere to. They can add on, but those horses must be in play on the tickets that they're playing. So I think we made a step in the right direction. He also mentioned to me that they are going to make a public statement at some point. They're owned by a casino company, so they did have to get some stuff passed by PR from them, but they are going to acknowledge what happened and acknowledge the fact that the protocols will change moving forward. So I think at the end of the day, what the story would be is don't be an idiot. If you need to take credit for something you did that you know you shouldn't do, maybe just keep it to yourself. And thankfully we caught it, and we made a positive change in one track, and hopefully maybe there's other tracks out there and other people that do this that maybe realize what happened as well and can learn from it.
I remember that night because I was watching kind of, and I seen that he posted a ticket with the last leg, and he had the 12 in the last, and I watched the last race, and it was like a 6,500, but I didn't realize that he had posted the one prior to that. I had only seen the second one, but then after it all came out, I was crazy. And then he sort of ran away, and I couldn't believe that either. But that was wild. That whole thing was wild.
It really was.
But nobody came to his defense whatsoever. Everyone just kind of faded away, and it was just because everybody that follows each other, I think most of the horse players are kind of felt that's icky. You know what I mean? That just was just you just don't do that.
I was getting
you're giving out tickets like that. You just can't do that.
Yeah, because you look like a jackass.
As far as our site.
Yeah, you look like a jackass when you do that, and we would never, ever do that. And if somebody on our website does that, make sure you let us know so we can give him one of these.
Yeah, nothing is more threatening than a boing-yoing-yoing sound. As someone who's watched 4 seasons of The Sopranos, I can tell you that is way more frightening. But I think through all of this, Josh, my takeaway is that for as angry as you sound, you still sound so cordial, no matter what, no matter how heated you might be. But that's the Canadian, I imagine.
Definitely the Canadian. Yeah, I'm really mean-hearted. Yeah, I promise.
Do we have time to talk about tickets and stuff, or no? Or what are we doing?
We have to get Russ on pretty quick.
Battery left, so it's up to you guys.
I'll let you lead that, Mike, because this is your expertise.
Well, no, I just I do follow a lot of your stuff on here, and I know you've had some big scores, especially in the last year or so. Are you more like of an ITP kind of guy with that everybody has to play perfect every ticket all the time? That kind of stuff kind of irritates me in a lot of ways. Like anytime somebody posts a ticket and things, everybody's dissecting it. Oh, you shouldn't have spread here. You shouldn't have done that. You did this wrong. Stuff like that. And I just find that, it's a pari-mutuel game. I mean, guys can play how they want to play. Not everybody's going to play perfect all the time. I mean, I don't know how you think. I mean, I see, a lot of your tickets are, you play a lot of multis and things like that. What's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that the whole idea of playing a perfect ticket are way overblown. I think it's very difficult to play a perfect ticket per se. What I've tried to do over the last year or two, because I have evolved a little bit under the mentorship of someone like ITB, is trying to make tickets that only allow me to make money. So many tickets I see out there are, sure you can win, but there's tickets where you can lose. And the name of the game is just, one saying I always have is the only thing more fun than losing at the racetrack is winning at the racetrack, right? And it's a thing where we're kind of ingrained into just going 3 by 3 by 4 by 2, or that's just what we do. And instead of looking at the value of what each horse is going to represent in each race and stuff like that, and I know it's a little convoluted and it gets a little bit confusing because this is meant to be fun. But at the end of the day, if you're spending a lot of money and time into it, it would sure be nice to have some rewards. So I basically just kind of reverted back to less is more. I don't hit as many, but when I do, it counts. So at one point in time, sure, you might be striking at 50%, but you look and you're going, geez, I got a negative ROI. This isn't right. Where now I'm saying, okay, you know what, I'm hitting at 15 to 20%, but the ROI is there. So what I try to do now is I don't follow a certain model. I don't think there's a 1 by 2 by, there's some people swear by the single spread method. Some people like the front load. Some people like the back load. I think every sequence is so unique and the variables present themselves in such a unique way that you have to take each sequence as it is. There's no set way to do things. But what I do think a lot of people need to consider is the value that each horse presents in each race. And I think that one thing that ITP does talk about a lot that I wish people would listen to, I know he's brash, I know he goes about it in a way that turns a lot of people off.
Well, he's condescending in a lot of ways.
That's right. The one thing that I would like to take out from it, because the message he's sending isn't meant to be condescending, it's trying to help. But the one thing, if I could reiterate to anybody, is just when you're using more than one horse in a leg, dissect yourself what the off odds are going to be and weight the horses correctly. You cannot possibly think that a 3 to 5 and an 18 to 1 have the exact same amount of chance of winning a horse race. It shouldn't happen that way for you. You know what? If you're going to use both, make 2, 3, 4 different tickets. Use that 3 to 5 for $1. Use the 18 to 1 for 20 cents. Because you have to weight your opinions, because if you're constantly going in with 2 or 3 horses and one of them's chalk and the other 2 are middle or long shots, the frequency in which you hit the long shots is just far less than the favorite. And if the favorite comes in, get yourself some money back. We don't need to weight those horses equally. And it's a message that I know he uses frequently, and we see it so often because people post their tickets, but we cannot have 3 to 5, 4 to 5 horses used in the same weight as a 16, 18, 25 to 1. Because, hey, we're all handicappers. We see these horses that look live at 20 to 1. But we know their chances are still slightly diminished compared to an odds-on horse.
But I also feel what you're kind of touching on is a lot of times when we're looking at these multi-races, they sometimes appear much simpler than we take them on as we're handicapping, and that also sometimes leads us to maybe overspread or underspread in certain cases. When you find situations like that, which I don't know how often you find yourself in situations like that, how exactly do you kind of like moderate yourself?
Well, what I like to do is, ideally, I don't do this every time. I'd be lying if I said I do, because this isn't my job. I have a real job, and I like to do this for a hobby. But when I have the time, I really like to try and assign up a horse percent chance of winning and rate that chance versus the odds he's going to be at. And if those don't jive, it's one that you try to pounce. If you have a horse that you think has a 50% chance of winning, and that's 5 to 1, it's time to pile on. We got to figure out how to make this 50% chance at 5 to 1 count. How do we do that? And if we can make that happen once or twice in the sequence, you're going to get paid, and you're going to get paid well, because you're going against the grain. And ultimately, that's what we have to do. We have to be against the grain. If we're going to all have the same 3 to 5 shot singled in every sequence, we know what the payout's going to be like at the end. It's going to be $18 for 20 cents. And sure, that's fine and dandy for the guy that's playing $8 tickets. But I mean, if you're spending $48 or $72, we don't need an $18 return. We need something substantial. So we have to go against the grain, and a lot of times that's either singling a 3 to 5 shot or throwing it right off your ticket. And I think far too many people get locked into putting that one with a couple that might have a chance. We have to take it off and play multiple times with it, single it, or throw it off our ticket and use the horses we think can be. I mean, it's one of the rules that I've learned, and it really helps. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do because it's been ingrained to us, because we just put all the horses that we think have a shot on the same ticket. But there are ways around it, and sometimes you just have to be bold enough to say, you know what, I know he's going to be 3 to 5, but he's really susceptible to losing. You're off my ticket.
Right. Not only that, I think I never really thought of it where it's if I have a $54 budget to bet a pick 4, I never think to allot that $54 into 3 different tickets using different combinations as opposed to just making one ticket for $54. That's an interesting way to approach it, which could actually save you money and give you more chances.
Pressing your opinion. I mean, your stronger opinion should have more monetary value behind it. Plain and simple. If you think a horse has a better chance than another one, that should be doubled up, maybe tripled up, depending on how you value the horse's chances of winning. So it's something that it takes more time, it takes more effort. Nobody wants to sit there all night long drawing up 4 or 5 tickets for a pick 5, but in the event that it chalks out, which happens frequently, we know we have it 3 or 4 times, and that $54 budget we set out turns into $120 because we hit it 3 times rather than just $40 and we lost $14.
Right.
No, that's true.
Well, Josh, interesting talk. Thanks for stopping by, without doubt. And it goes without saying, you're welcome back on this show anytime. Anytime.
And if you see something we're doing that you don't like or you think we can improve, send it our way for sure. I mean, we're certainly interested.
If you think my face should be punched, at least submit a request, and then we'll have it processed by the proper channels, which may or may not come back to me in the form of a fist. But, I mean, anytime you want to talk horse betting, anytime you want to talk about any other things relating to presentation of sport or other things you're passionate about with the sport, please stop on by.
Well, certainly. I'm happy you guys had me on, and I'm really happy that you guys are giving an unfiltered response to everything that we're putting out there, because I think racing needs a little bit more satire and honesty, plain and simple. So I appreciate what you guys are doing out there. Thanks a lot.
And we're glad you did not drop a single F-bomb. Josh Hansen, ladies and gentlemen. Arbro 14 on Twitter. Take care.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Articulate, very articulate man, Josh Hansen. We're going to have rough that.
Here's the thing about him. Seriously, he gets it. That's the thing. He gets it. And, I feel like that we get it, too, in a lot of ways, but he's a guy that gets it. And there's a lot of people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that's why he fits in to this.
Russ Adams.
What's up?
Mr. Russ.
What's up, guys?
Hope everything's going well for you so far this evening. It's a cold one, but it's warmer than last night without.
Yeah, I almost fell asleep after that conversation. No offense.
Oh my God.
I do feel bad about his Northlands Park closing the other day. I feel bad about that, though. I mean, I would love to have seen that stay open, but unfortunately, that's how racing goes, and they don't care about the fans and stuff like that, and then places close like that. So I know you didn't want to mention that, but I saw it the other day on Facebook, and nobody mentioned about that on Facebook anywhere the last couple of days. So I thought I'd tell you guys that real quick.
No, I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere. And
wait, what did I miss?
Northlands Park shut down.
Oh, Northlands Park was shut. Yeah, that was announced a couple of years ago that they were doing that, and then I think they delayed it a year.
Yeah, they closed the casino on the 31st.
Okay.
Yeah, so they closed now. Everything's closed now. They finished like their racing meet like a couple months ago or whatever. But yeah, I saw that on Twitter the other day. I was like, I'm surprised you guys didn't mention about that. I was a little surprised because he's always on there talking about all kinds of different stuff. Because he said something to me about that Turfway Park thing the other week as well. I thought that was stupid.
He did mention it. He did put it on Twitter about Northland's closing. He did have it on there.
Yeah. But anyway, let's talk about what
let's talk about your track.
Yeah. Yep.
So now Rosecroft is opening up Wednesday night, opening night. The Hanover Hustler, Russ Adams, who we have on the phone right now, is going to be joining the NAHU crew for the meet, doing some analysis with us. And, every week we're going to have a Rosecroft segment, either a pick 3 or pick 5 segment, depending on which sequence looks better as far as value goes.
I would probably do a pick 5 when there's a carryover.
Okay.
That's probably I would probably just take the pick 3s for now until whenever we get a carryover, because we just gotta let those pools build up a little bit on that pick 5. I wished we would have gotten a pick 4 for the meet, but that didn't happen, and I'm hoping the fans out there will speak their mind about having one. But I know that's not what they want to hear, but it's the truth.
Well, there is a process to adding a new wager.
Oh, yeah.
So it actually takes, depending on the state, anywhere from 30 days to 90 days to implement a new wager.
Yeah, but we had all winter.
Yeah.
That's
but
true.
Hopefully we can get that done for the fall meet. But this spring meet, tell us a little bit about how the track plays in the spring, because it is different from the fall.
It plays well. This is the first time we've actually raced this early in a long time, because we usually race in the middle of March, but we last year we started about the third week of February, and now we're moving into the first week of February. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to play fair like it usually does. You're going to have your horses going to go to the front and win wire to wire. You're going to have your horses be like 6th or 7th and get a trip. There's no sitting here at Rosecroft. If you're watching Yonkers, you don't see any movement until the 3/4 pole. Rosecroft, you're seeing movement into the first turn. I mean, it's pretty intense at times, and some of the moves are questionable, but anyway. But I just stand there and I just like, why is this guy doing this? But anyway, I'd rather have excitement than have boring single file racing.
So tell us.
Oh,
go ahead, Ray.
You generate more prices over at Rosecroft than you would at Yonkers.
Yeah, Yonkers you see 330, 240, 260. You see Jason Bartlett win every other race. You don't get that. You don't get that at Rosecroft. You get Russell Foster comes there on Sundays and he wins his 2 or 3, and then really it's anybody else's ball game. I mean, Frank Milby's usually right there. J-Rob's right there. Jonathan Roberts, if you guys don't know who J-Rob is, it's Jonathan Roberts. Who else? Roger Plant wins his share. Alan Davis wins a couple on Sundays. He only comes over on Sundays. You know. Those usually are contenders, for the most part.
So you're saying how, like, for instance, when I handicap the Meadowlands, I give it a bit more of a front favoring bias when I'm handicapping. You're saying Rosecroft, it's fair game.
Yeah, it's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. It's one of the fairer 5-8 mile tracks around, because when I watch a lot of 5-8 mile tracks like Pocono, if your horse gets to the front, you ain't passing him. I mean, you don't see anybody ever close at Pocono. Don't matter if it's cold, hot. It doesn't matter. Georgie now just takes horses up 3-5, or 8.5 wins the other. 20% of the races, and then once in a while, Tom Jackson will win one. But other than that, Rosecroft it's very. Like I said before, it plays fair. One night it could be all speed, and one night it could be all closers. That's how it is. It's all it all depends on the night. It all depends on the wind. Sometimes if a wind goes in the stretch, a lot of times the closers show up.
Well, I also remember last time you were on for the Miss Vincent Memorial Invitational. What's the Potomac Pace? I just remember what it was called. When you were on for the Potomac Pace, you mentioned about how posts at Rosecroft play differently than at most tracks.
Yeah, so you can put like at Rosecroft, you can pretty much win anywhere. I mean, like I keep saying, like the last time I talked to you guys, I believe the one hole is the worst hole at Rosecroft. Because you gotta go up that crown, and you gotta get up the track and try to get over. Plus, our gate is not slanted either, so I think it's fair for everybody. And then if you got speed on the outside, you're gonna go straight down. You're gonna go straight out down that hill. I mean, it is steep. Those turns are very steep. Like at like Harrington and like Dover, more flatter.
Yeah.
If you ever come to Rosecroft sometime, if you guys ever get to Rosecroft this year at some point, take a ride around the racetrack one time and see how high that track is when you see it, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Take a trip like in a starting car or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bank turns make for interesting racing, especially on a small track.
Yes, it's like you got some tracks like Pocono, it's very flat, nobody can close. If Tioga, same thing, it's very flat. It's hard to close there. If you're on the front, it's hard to pass anybody. I mean, I was up there one weekend a couple years ago. I mean, the racing was okay, but if you were on the front, you're pretty much gold. Here at Rosecroft, maybe the drivers aren't, like Yannick Gingras or Tim Tetrick, but these guys tried. They're not going there to lollygag. They're there to give the bettors their money's worth.
And now, Russ,
and give the trainer the best chance to win. So.
And now, Russ, for us, since you are one of the better handicappers at Rosecroft than everyone at Rosecroft, for those watching or listening who might want to actually go bet Rosecroft but have never handicapped it, what's the one tip you would give them?
The one tip, oh boy. One tip is avoid the non-winners of 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Yeah. Because those races are the hard. I mean, still bet these races, please. I mean, they're still you can get value in these races, but these are the races that I always have a hard time with, because you never know who's going to win, who's just trying to stay in that class, who's just trying to stay in there for the following week, and it can get a little tricky. I know it's not just Rosecroft; other tracks are the same way, but. I always call these the John Wagner type races, because you never know he's going to win or he's going to just try to get second or third every week, because he's the best trainer. Well, Arlene Cameron and John Wagner, they're a great combo and everything. They win a lot of races, but I mean, they could win 50% here at Rosecroft if they really wanted to. They really could. But when I look at some of these races and I see these horses coming from Chester a lot, they should just tower over his field. And then when you see these horses finish second and third, and I see who the winner is, and I look at my program, I'm like, how the heck did this horse win? and this is not the first time this has happened. I mean, I'm not saying stiffing happens or anything like that. I'm not saying any of that happens, but when I look at this field, I'm like, okay, are they trying to win this race, or are they just trying to get second or third? So if you ever see a John Wagner, Arlene Cameron type of horse, and it looks so obvious, just put this horse as second or third a lot of times. If you're playing like exactas and trifectas, you can make a decent killing. And I'm not just saying just them. There's others that do it too. I'm not going to mention any names, but
besides the two top ones, no.
Yeah, and that's how I handicap. I mean, I'm not. I mean, obviously it goes well for me. I mean, I don't know about any of the other bettors out there, but it works for me okay.
That's the thing. Like that's a tip that I feel some places would be kind of afraid to give out, but it's one of the that's a useful tip if you're especially putting tickets together and such, is to try and maybe find some value in those races potentially, if it does hold true in these first couple of weeks of the meet. But Russ, I'm sure that you will be back with us each week to help preview some Rosecroft action.
Yeah, I will tell you guys this. Our draw came out this afternoon, and we have 12 races on Wednesday, by the way.
All right. First post?
12 quality races. I mean, full fields, not this 6-horse and 7-horse fields at Pompano and these other tracks that lack full fields. We got full fields every race. And that's what the bettors want. That's what we're trying to give them. But, you know.
What time Wednesday?
What time Wednesday?
Oh, what time Wednesday? Sorry, I heard something on my phone. Wednesday is at 6:40 p.m. And then Sundays are 4:40 p.m.
All right, so you got kind of a twilight card Sundays and then evening cards Wednesdays over at Rosecroft. Ross,
yeah, it's not too bad. The Sunday cards aren't too bad at that time, especially this time of year. Especially when there's like no football and like you got your thoroughbred tracks ending, stuff like that. I would love to see Rosecroft go to 540 because all the thoroughbred tracks would be done, and one of the only tracks that'd be around would be Rosecroft, and people would be like, what can I bet? Oh, Rosecroft's there. Let's bet that. We know the Hanover Hustler's going to give you guys some winners out there. So,
bang bang.
You know what I mean? And last meet wasn't too bad. In this meet, I will follow, like, when I do my picks or whatever on the Rosecroft, you're on your guys' website and all that, I will try to keep track on the percentages on just top pick winners. I'm not going to do top 3, top 5. I'm not doing any of that nonsense. We'll see if we can get around 30, 35%. That's about what I averaged at Western Fair the last couple of years, and that's not too bad, I guess.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. The simpler, the better. Russ, we look forward to this meet over at Rosecroft. As it may seem, more lucrative than last season. Hope you're doing well.
But the thing is, guys, I'm going to be truthful with everybody that's listening out there. I know I tell people this all the time. I'm not the most politically correct guy in the world, but I will tell you guys the truth. But I will try to give you guys some great tips and hopefully give you some high price winners and hopefully give you guys some great insight, I guess. That's what you call it.
That's the goal. Russ Adams, ladies and gentlemen, joining us to talk about Rosecroft. You take care. Go get some sleep, buddy.
Yeah, I haven't been feeling too good today, so hopefully I feel better.
Well, a good night's sleep will definitely help contribute to that. Russ Adams of Rosecroft Raceway, now a NAHUpicks.com contributor. All that said, all that done, and that does it for another edition of North American Harness Update. I have been Ray Catola. They're Mike Ribodi, Rod Adams Jr., and Russ Adams. Tune in next week just to see where in tarnations this here cookie crumbles.